Okay, so as you all know, today we are going to talk about the new way that we're going to generate. I'm not calling it RoboVoice because RoboVoice is what Captivate has, and I want to differentiate between the two. So we are going to talk about generating PolyVoice, which is what the Amazon Poly service is going to provide for us. I'm still working on the documentation, but I thought I'd just go ahead and show you the process, and then anyone who wants help getting set up, I will set you up. The setup part of the documentation in the wiki is complete, and then I'm going to finish the rest of it hopefully today. But since we're talking about terminology, I just want to make you aware of some words that you'll hear when we're discussing all of this. So text to speech, you know what that is. That's where it takes text and makes it into a voice. Amazon Web Services, or AWS, is Amazon has a collection of services that you can buy into. And we have bought into one specific service called Poly. Poly is not a voice. Poly is the name of this service. Poly is actually a prefix that means many. So because Amazon Poly is many voices and she speaks, or Poly covers many languages, Poly is actually a polyglot. So that's fun. SSML is another term. We may not look at that in today's meeting. We may have a follow-up to talk about that. And that's speech synthesis markup language, and it controls how text is pronounced, and it looks a lot like HTML. So here is the Amazon documentation, and you'll see you can put in breaks. So if you're in the middle of a slide and you want to put in 3-second breaks so you can show something, Poly makes that really easy to do. You just add a break tag. You can emphasize words, mark words, do phonetic pronunciations, a lot of options here that Poly will support. A lexicon is a specialized dictionary, and it controls how words are pronounced. Right now I have a lexicon with 2 terms in it. It has FAS, so instead of seeing FOSS, we actually hear FAS. And it also has, gosh, I think I put VAWA in it. I have to go back and check that. So it would say VAWA instead of the way it pronounces it, which wasn't quite right. One thing it's really important to realize, to know about this service, is that we are charged per character that we process. So because of this, when we're generating text-to-speech, we want to process as few slides as we can get away with. We don't want to redo one slide 12 times just because we want to play with where the pauses are. We also can't experiment with this. You can't create your own memes or have a picture of cat and make it say funny things. It just really needs to be on target and just for lessons. We don't own or manage our account, so other people at RealPage can see how we're using the service. So it's really important that we keep the costs low and stay professional when we're using the tool. Anything
Thank you
so
for that.
far?
I will
Go ahead.
emphasize. I will add an exclamation point at the end of that. I do have one question, Sharon, on the SSML.
Okay.
Is that something, if we use that, is that something that how will that look in our, like the closed captioning, if we were using that?
That's a good question. The closed captioning and the file that produces the audio are 2 separate files. So it will not affect how the closed captions look at all.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So just to give you a 5,000-foot view of this, or actually I'm going to skip that. I'm just going to do it so you can see it because I think that's more fun. So let me jump into Captivate. And you may notice up here at the top of the screen, whoops, can y'all see that little set of new buttons, or is there an interface hiding it?
Yes,
We
no,
can
I
see
can
it.
see that.
Okay, so this now, when you run the new CC macro, and this is a separate macro, it's not part of the ODL macro set, you'll get these three buttons. The first button does our old, the CC process is even between the automated and this brand new TTS stuff, there's a lot of crossover. So for convenience's sake, so I didn't have to keep updating code in two places, I pulled our old CC process and made it part of this macro also. So I can update everything at once. So if you need to do the old one for some reason, the one we've been using for the past year, you can use this automated CC button. This next button is a batch text-to-speech operation. And when you click this, it will generate closed captions and audio for every slide in your lesson. And then later, after you've had corrections and you need to go back and change things, you will use the single TTS button. And that'll let you edit things for one single slide. Okay? So let me show you how the batch process works. This is a really short file. I thought it was even shorter than that. Let me delete a few more slides here. Oh, that's the exam. Okay, I won't worry about that. Yeah, so I have about 6 slides in here that actually, 3 slides that actually have audio. And to kick it off, I'm just going to go in here and click Batch TTS. And it's going to prompt me to be sure that I don't have a captions folder or a publish zip file on my hard drive. You can still have those in TFS, just don't have them on your hard drive. And I don't right now, so I'm just going to click close. And then it's going to prompt me for the folder that they all go in. Let's see, is it looking for the project folder. So I'm going to go up one, copy that, and paste it in. And now I get a dialog that lets me choose my TTS voice. Generally speaking, right now, you're going to want to stick with Joanna or Matthew because they're what are called conversational voices, and they just sound a little better. The pacing
And for the moment, let's stick with Joanna because that's the only one that Katie has heard and approved.
Oh, okay. So we're going to stick with Joanna.
For the moment, we'll get her the others later to look at. Yeah.
Okay. Later, just so you know, we will be able to use. We have 2 child voices that come with it. We have other adult voices, and we also have Lupe, who is actually a Spanish character. So when Manila is doing Spanish text-to-speech, they'll use Lupe. She's the only one that's available. And then, but what we can do is if we're working on, say, a fair housing lesson and we want to include an immigrant in our lesson, we can check this button and we will get an English speech, but it's going to be accented English speech.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
I like that.
I think that's great for many things, really.
Yeah, and we can do, Amazon has dozens of languages. So if we wanted an Islamic accent or, Islam's a religion. That's the wrong, I should really tie it to a country. Arabic accent or some other kind of an accent, we can do that.
Nice.
But
That's
for
pretty
now,
cool.
Yeah, it's fun. But for now, I'm going to go with Joanna. And it's going to take it a little bit. It's doing stuff on the screen. And now, okay, it's going to print a script, which we've all seen it do this before. This is just like the old closed captions. It's going to print a script and run the split script macro. So Word should open next. There's our script. And here is the split script macro. So it's dividing it into the little text files for each lesson. Okay, now it's running it again, but this time it's making the speak files that contain all the SSML that we need. So when we finish this, I'm not going to be able to show you, but, oh, and this is kind of cool. And right now, can I drag that over? Nope. On my other monitor, I've got an alert here saying that it's creating the files and I need to wait. It's got a little percentage countdown. Okay, so now it's finished. And I have speech files, and I have MP3s, and I have closed captions. And at this point, it is going in and replacing the audio on each slide, because these were human voices here. And if you don't have audio, it would just insert the new audio.
Oh, so it's already done the voice?
Yeah, for 6 slides. Yeah.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, for a 7-minute lesson, it's really about a 7-minute process, is what I found. 7 to 10. Yeah.
Well, it takes longer than that to walk upstairs to the recording studio.
Yes. And it's done. So now we can listen to it. And y'all have heard this before. It is mechanical. Chuck, it sounds nowhere near as good as you do. But,
Ha ha ha.
ha ha ha, yes, but it's going to save us a lot of time. So here, and coronavirus, we can't. So here, let's see if y'all can hear it.
No.
Y'all can't hear it. Okay, I can. I'm sorry. But that's, so it's
Can
playing
you
the
hold your
audio.
microphone up to it or something instead of letting it play this way?
It's
I know
coming through my headset, so I can't.
Okay.
Yeah. I wonder if I could, like, bend it around.
Yeah, there's a setting someplace that allows you to, but I don't know where it is.
Yeah, and it'd probably take longer to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
so is the closed caption already in it?
The closed caption is not. Now it's generated. Okay. This is where it's different from our previous process, because in our previous process, it would take those CSV files and add them to the zip for us, or it would tell you to go do it. It's not going to do it here because you usually have to retime the slides. So it didn't make sense to make it part of the process, to publish and stuff the captions in. But the CSVs are right here. They're generated. They look exactly, I'm opening it in Excel, which is stupid, but they look exactly like our old closed captions, except right out here in the beginning, they let Kat and I know, because we're going to be tracking this, that they're AWS captions, and we use Joanna as the voice. And just
That's pretty slick.
Yeah, and just for grins, here's. It also makes a JSON file. This file tells us what time every word in the closed caption is spoken.
Wow.
Yes, and then we're using that, and we've already generated text files that have our line breaks in them, so they fit on our screen properly. So we're using those two, the text and the JSON file, to make the CSV file.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really
Sharon,
nice.
Sharon,
Yes.
I feel this was something that I needed to bring up because it was immediately relevant to my labors on some of this.
Okay.
But one of the big glitches that I worked on was that because it has those hard returns like that, when we have captions that have hard returns in them, i.e. like somebody types in a sentence and then they hit enter.
Okay, Stephen, didn't we fix that?
We did?
Then let's not talk about it. Honestly, if we fixed it, it's not a problem.
All right.
Yeah. Let's not detract from how wonderful we are making all of this happen.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't explain the magic.
Yeah, seriously. Nobody wants to hear all of that. They just want
Still,
to see the end
just
result.
In the future, let's try to avoid hard returns.
Yeah,
They're not supposed to be there anyway.
Okay, but not in the text file. Where were those hard returns giving us trouble?
No, those are in the captions itself.
In the slide
in
notes.
Captivate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If we saw hard returns in the slide notes, it caused us a problem that Stephen really had to dig into the data on this one. This was not an easy fix, but Stephen fixed it for us.
Excellent.
Hey, Sharon.
Yes, Connie.
So in the slide notes at Captivate, so like a lot of times I just do everything like on one note.
That is
But
fine.
okay, but Manila does it like they'll do a sentence in every, what do you call it, like every section? Is that all okay?
It's all okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
In the lesson that I ran into, it had a variety of errors that were caused by this, and I confirmed it fixed those. I would still prefer they, like, the possibility that there's some hidden error that might come up. That's what I'm worried about and why I wanted to bring it up, because I can't foresee every possible formatting error someone might have put in there. Should be fine.
I just know they do it different than I do it, so
Yeah. And
that's what I want to make sure of.
yeah, and the process up until now, that hasn't been a problem, and now it is. And that's just something that happens when you bring in new and different technologies. Things start going haywire on you, and you have to wrangle it into control.
What's the problem? Hang on.
If you did this within a slide note.
Oh, okay. But if
Okay.
you have it like you have it on 3 different sections, it's okay.
That's perfectly okay. And really,
Okay.
I think Stephen's fix is very elegant. I don't even think that's a problem anymore.
Okay. Cool.
And we do deployment test, and we're going to probably all start having to do this to check the slide ranges that we're going to use for help integration. We'll talk about that probably in the next week or two, I imagine. And that's going to be part of deployment testing. So if there is a problem, we should catch it.
I got a question.
Okay, Tiffany.
So when we're doing the slide notes, if we have like on the what you must know with like a bulleted list, because I'll typically do a hard enter and then have it, each line's on whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't think
Is that
that's-
okay still, or do we need to do it a different way?
Tiffany, let's go ahead and just say it's okay, because if it's not, we're going to have to change our process to accommodate what you've done because you've been doing it for so long.
Okay. I mean, it's not going to
Okay.
be that. Well, I'm just saying, like, going forward, I don't think it hasn't been done that much in the past. But, like, going forward, do we need to make sure we're writing it differently?
I think you're fine.
Yeah, if
Okay.
we run into another error, I have a better idea now for making fixes. Like if I see something going wrong with the way that it formulates it, I'll be like, I bet it's this thing. It should be easier to fix the next time if something else happens to be bad.
Okay. But the hard enter right now, you're saying, Sharon, is probably
Yeah,
fine.
it
I
should be
think you're fine, yes.
Okay.
And we're always going to find bugs. Sadly, no process ever, what is it about contact with the enemy? Yeah, we're going to
Yeah,
see
I
problems.
just-
Yeah,
I mean, if we can not do it, it's better to just not do it.
that is
Don't worry
true.
about it.
And every time Captivate has another update, we'll have to go back through probably.
And check everything. Yes, make sure all the
Yeah.
macros work. Yeah.
Somewhere there's a guy in Minnesota named #DropTable, and it's just causing problems all over his school. That's a
I chimed in so you could hear me laughing, Stephen. No one else
Yeah.
was laughing.
Oh gosh. So, let's say you are doing a soft skills lesson, and let's say this lesson is one character, which of course there are no characters, but we're going to pretend this one has one character on it, and then you want to switch characters and have a different voice. When you do the batch process, it puts everything in one voice. So if you want to go back and edit a slide later because you need a different voice or because you need to change something in the text down here, you can run the single slide, which will ask you, what slide is this? And you can tell it this is slide 6. And then it is going to print this one I need to work on. Yeah, I just realized it's only going to capture the first line there. So I need to work on that and make it capture all of the slide notes. Wow.
So then you would have the same slide with two voices, and you just kind of intermix whichever ones needed to be different.
Yeah, it should be asking me for the voice. That was weird. It didn't. Let me reload that. Do it again.
This sounds like it would be great for scenarios, but we have at times and can continue to do an individual slide per voice, because we switch the backgrounds anyway.
Right.
So going forward, we wouldn't have to have multiples on the same slide, but we would need some slides that had a different voice. You're saying this would work for that, right?
It would. Let me run it again. I've reset the macro.
I'm just filling the time while you do that.
Okay, there we go. And run it again. Okay, now it's asking me for all the information again. So I have to get the folder. Whoops. And I give it a different voice. I'll do Kendra for this one. And at this point, slide 6, and at this point, it's going to show us the speak file. So if you did want to individually edit your speak files and put a pause in them or something, well, it didn't show me the speak file editor. Oh, wait, that's after this. Okay, goodbye, Word. Not yet. Yeah, because it has to generate the speak file before you can edit it. So here's a little editor where you could go in and say you wanted to put a 5-second break here instead of a 0.35 second. You could just modify that. And then that generates, and over on my other screen, I'm getting my generate file messages. There we go. And now it's inserting the sound onto the page. But it should have a 5-second gap in the sound now that wasn't there earlier.
And a different voice.
Yes.
5 seconds?
Just as an example. Yeah.
In case we're not meeting our numbers near the end of a quarter.
That's right. Also, yeah.
Sorry.
I like that.
Yeah, if I find stuff that's got a 3-second pause between each word, I'll know we're in trouble.
Actually, if you look at the speech files, this is really cool. I am already running them at a 97% of the original rate because I thought it was too fast.
Yeah.
It would be really easy for us to take a lesson and go 80%.
Except we might put everybody to sleep.
Yes. But we do have that option. So if something sounds too fast or something, you can go in on your individual speak files and change that rate.
I'm not sure I follow that.
Good, Mary.
So what I would like to suggest, since we're going to be using this now for the first time and it's going to be on a whole bunch of industry stuff, is that if somebody comes across some words that are being pronounced incorrectly, that maybe everybody needs to stop doing audio until we can get the lexicon adjusted so that we don't end up with a whole bunch of different lessons that are all have the same words pronounced incorrectly, that all have to then be redone again.
Yeah.
So that's something that everybody needs to keep in mind, because if it's affecting yours, it affects everyone. Thing is going to be using the same lexicon.
Yeah, unless you have some really unique word. Like HUD has a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
That's true.
For example, like if you found it in one HUD lesson, it would be all of them, but it might not be on anything outside of HUD. These are
Right, but we need
yet to be seen. I don't know what the words are going to be.
But we
So
need
can you
A
have
good
the
point.
same spelled word in the lexicon that has different meanings? For example, I remember when I used to work in Captivate before, we would go in and basically, I don't even remember how we did it, but there was like a file behind the scenes that you could adjust the inflection on for words that are spelled the same, like project, but sometimes it was project as a verb, or
Yes.
record versus a record.
You can. Captivate is surprisingly good at figuring out which one you mean. I haven't had it mess it up. That's not going to say it won't in the future, but it is much better than Captivate, where we get
Okay.
Job cost. I haven't hit a Job cost yet while I've been playing around.
Awesome. Okay.
And live versus live.
Thank
Yes.
goodness.
Yes.
Sam does not like that Job cost. He talks about it all
Yeah.
the time.
The one thing you do have to be aware of, I know some of y'all have seen this, where you have audio that you've revised, and then you try to load it into Captivate over audio that already has the same file name, and Captivate gets cranky and won't load the audio. So if that happens to you, you're going to have to replace the audio manually. If it didn't work, you'd have to come into your library like you would always do, delete that object from your library, save the file, close the file, open the file, and then hit F6 and put the audio in manually.
So is the audio going into, where does the audio end up now?
The audio ends up in your captions folder.
Oh, all the audio is in the captions folder now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So that will be going forward, and we'll need to update that documentation. Audio and captions are all now in a captions folder instead of, so we won't, going forward, I'm guessing then anything that's got poly voice won't have an audio folder.
Okay, yes.
But let's be sure to mark that, because I think long term we're not planning to use poly voice for everything.
Right. Yeah.
Soft
Long term,
skills.
we're not, at least not until there's more voices to choose from. But short term, we are. But I think then we just all need to know if there's an audio folder, it's real voices. And if it's just a captions folder, it's.
Yeah,
Mhm.
then it's the poly
Yeah.
voices.
I was
Yeah.
just saying, could we be sure to differentiate that there's two ways instead of sometimes we just delete stuff.
Yeah, on the documentation, I will be sure that happens.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hey Sharon, maybe this is just a generic audio question. If we have to replace the audio manually, does it matter if it's WAV or MP3 in Captivate?
Poly voices are always MP3. Sadly, it won't put out a wave, so we don't really get a choice.
But we can use that in Captivate, the MP3 file, if we have to manually F6 put it into the file, correct?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yes. Are you going to have a meeting with Manila about this anytime soon? Because it's my understanding they're going to do this for the less rushing to get done.
We are recording this for Manila because they're having so many bandwidth
good.
issues. Yes.
Hi, Manila.
Yes,
Thank
so they'll
you.
get to listen to the recording and then meet with Sharon to ask questions, which I
Awesome.
think will be easier than trying to have all of us. We've got our PLST meeting on Thursday. I think it's going to be interesting to see who can and can't really. I don't know if that's going to work really well to
I
have
think we
that.
should leave off the video
everybody.
then. I mean, our video, we at one point talked about whether or not we were supposed to all be on video or just use these images we see here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that will certainly overrun it.
Want y'all to know that I cleaned up and put hot rollers in my hair today.
I want to see a
Wow.
picture. It didn't happen if there's no picture.
You mean for
I know.
today's call because you
I'm
thought we
saying,
were going
like,
to be on
there's no
Zoom?
picture, but like I actually did my hair just because I was that bored.
Oh, I thought you meant because you thought we were going to have a call like on Zoom.
No,
I'm sorry,
because-
I can't imagine doing something like that because I'm bored. There are at least a billion other things I could
Yeah.
do, including cleaning my kitchen, that would override me doing my hair.
my kitchen's clean, my garden's good. Yeah, it was
I
that
take a
bad.
nap.
I was like, I haven't put on makeup or done my hair in months. So I was like, I'll just at least put hot
Months? I don't
rollers
think so.
in.
Months? Connie,
You got
Okay,
queen of
weeks.
exaggeration.
Okay, 3 weeks.
Didn't you get married recently? I mean, it's been months.
Well, we haven't seen pictures.
Yeah.
And that was the last time I curled my hair, I will say that.
All right. I think Manila will be very entertained by this conversation.
Yeah, or not.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Sharon, feel free to edit the end of this if you want.
Is this the end? Are we done?
Yeah, I think we are, unless anyone has any other questions.
So I think
So
my takeaway is that we don't really have to do anything different when we put together a lesson. It's just what comes later when you're ready to generate the audio.
That's correct.
I love it. I can do that.
Okay.
Excellent.